Give us your best team theme look. Your best team theme. I'm recording. E-Van. Slow close, slow close. Hey, where did you
direct your attention to the rear of the theater? Witness the traditional first step. You see that the soldiers are led forward by platoon sergeants. This signifies the first step into the non-commissioned officers corps.
Order, march!
Please rise for the playing of the national anthem by PFC Brooks. Next we will have the opening remarks by the senior non-commissioned officer in the battalion, Command Sergeant Major Michael D. Franklin.
I'd like to say thank you to everybody for coming out. This is a very important occasion for us to get to share with these fine junior non-commissioned officers who will soon be inducted into the Corps. I'd like to share with you one of our better performances by having Sergeant Valdez come out and speak to you. I've asked him to be our guest speaker. I know that this may be considered a little unorthodox, but he is the brigade non-commissioned officer of the quarter, and I felt that it would be befitting that he would give the speech or the words of wisdom for those soldiers that are taking that step into leadership that he has recently taken and that he's doing a very good job at. So give me a warm round of applause for Sergeant Valdez.
Good afternoon, 652, Lieutenant Colonel Lambert, unit commanders, Command Sergeant Major Franklin, Sergeant Major Peterson, First Sergeants, fellow non-commissioned officers, and to all soldiers of 65288. It brings me great pleasure and honor to have this opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. When the Command Sergeant Major asked me to speak, I jumped at it because I know that leadership is one of the most important things to me. There's nothing more fulfilling than making the transition from soldier to sergeant. It is truly an accomplishment of its own. It signifies your hard work and dedication to Army ethics and Army standards. But with new promotion brings great responsibility. One must realize that you are no longer one of the troops. Instead of being a doer, you now accomplish the mission through the participation and efforts of others. With that in mind, the soldier who was once your peer is now your subordinate. As a leader, you are responsible for understanding and directly transmitting the Army's values to your soldiers. These values are the foundation for service to the nation, since the Army's purpose is to protect the nation and its values. The Army's ethic must be consistent with the national will and values. The oath of enlistment pledged to you to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, taken without reservation and regardless of personal sacrifice. The oath is formal and public recognition of your commitment to a professional ethic. You need to know standards, yourself, human nature, your job, and your unit to be an effective leader. This knowledge will give you a strong foundation for what you must be, know, and do. Soldiers must be properly trained, equipped, and employed by their leaders to enhance their probability of winning. There may be conflicting attitudes or feelings from your subordinates, which must be met with the utmost professionalism. To accomplish this mission, you must maintain focus, dedication, and your ethical standards to overcome these challenges. It is imperative that you train your soldiers so that they can accomplish any task or mission given to them and ensure that they will one day replace you. Sergeants, you are now about to be inducted into the Corps of professional non-commissioned officers. You will be formally charged with the responsibility to guide and influence soldiers. You will be compelled now to lead from the front and always lead by example. I will not forget, nor will I allow my comrades to forget, that we are professionals, non-commissioned officers, leaders. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, you will now be presented with the historical perspective of the non-commissioned officer by First Sergeant Payline and First Sergeant Carmack.
A historical perspective of the non-commissioned officer, 1778 to 1989, the year of the NCO. Time has not altered the truth of what Baron von Steuben wrote at Valley Forge in his regulation for the order and discipline of the troops of the United States. The choice of non-commissioned officers is an object of greatest importance. The order and discipline of a regiment depends so much upon their behavior that too much care cannot be taken on preferring none to that trust but those who by their merit and good conduct are entitled to it. Honesty, sobriety, and a remarkable attention to every point of duty with a neatness in their dress are indispensable prerequisites. Nor can a sergeant or a corporal be said to be qualified who does not write and read in a tolerable manner. The year was 1778, but there is little we can add to the doughty Baron's instructions for the sergeants and corporals. It being on the non-commissioned officers that the discipline and order of a company in a great measure depend, they cannot be too circumspect in their behavior towards the men, by treating them with mildness and at the same time obligating everyone to do his duty. By avoiding too great familiarity with the men, they will not only gain their love and confidence, but be treated with a proper respect. Whereas by a contrary conduct, they will forfeit all regard, and their authority becomes despised.
Each sergeant and corporal will be in a particular manner answerable for the squad committed to his care. He must pay particular attention to their conduct in every respect. That they keep themselves and their arms always clean. They have their effects always ready and put where they can get them immediately, and even in the dark without confusion. And on every fine day he must oblige them to air their effects. When a man of the squad is warned of duty, he must examine which before he carries him to the parade, obliging him to take all his effect with him, unless when specially ordered to the contrary. In teaching the recruits, they must exercise all their patience, by no means abusing them, but treating them with mildness, and not to expect too much precision in the first lesson, punishing those only who are willfully negligent. They must suppress all quarrels and disputes in the company, and where other means fail, must use their authority in confining the offenders. From the citizen soldiers of Valley Forge to today's all-volunteer professional NCO Corps, the non-commissioned officer's traditional role of service to the nation is older than the nation himself. Baron von Steuben, Valley Forge, Regulation of the Order and Discipline of the Troops of the United States, 1778.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand before you are 20 non-commissioned officers who are about to be inducted into the NCO Corps. Before them and on display are many of the tools necessary for the non-commissioned officers to learn and grow professionally. AR 600-20, Command Policy and Procedure. AR 670-1, Wear and Appearance of the Army Uniform and Insignias. FM 22-100, Army Leadership. FM 25-100, Training the Force. FM 25-101, Battle-Focused Training. The Manual of Courts Martial. FM 21-20, Physical Fitness Training. FM 22-5, Drill and Ceremonies. TC 22-6, Duties and Responsibilities of an NCO. These are not all the tools necessary, but they are key in the foundation of the NCO growth. The lighting of the candles are in keeping with the finest military traditions. The red candle signifies the red stripes on the flag and represents hardiness, the white for purity and innocence, and the blue for vigilance, perseverance, and justice. A set of candles on either side of the non-commissioned officers is used to tell the non-commissioned officer that he must possess physical as well as moral courage. And now, First Sergeant Oosterhout will present the NCO Creed.
No one is more professional than I.
am a non-commissioned officer, a leader of soldiers. As a non-commissioned officer, I realize I am a member of a time-honored corps, which is known as the backbone of the Army. I am proud of the Corps of Non-Commissioned Officers, and will at all times conduct myself so as to bring great credit upon the Corps, the military service, and my country. Regardless of the situation in which I find myself, I will not use my grade or position to attain personal profit, safety, or pleasure. Competence is my watchword. My two basic responsibilities will always be uppermost in my mind: accomplishment of my mission and the welfare of my soldiers. I will strive to remain tactically and technically proficient. I am aware of my role as a non-commissioned officer and will fulfill my responsibilities inherent in that role. All soldiers are entitled to outstanding leadership. I will provide that leadership. I know my soldiers, and I will always place their needs above my own. I will communicate consistently with my soldiers, never leaving them uninformed. I will be fair and impartial when recommending both reward and punishment. Officers of my unit will have maximum time to accomplish their duties. They will not have to accomplish mine. I will earn their respect and confidence as well as that of my soldiers. I will be loyal to those with whom I serve, seniors, peers, and subordinates alike. I will exercise initiative by taking appropriate actions in the absence of orders. I will not compromise my integrity nor my moral courage. I will not forget, nor will I allow my comrades to forget. We are professionals, non-commissioned officers, leaders.
And now, First Sergeant Carr, First Sergeant Westerdale, and First Sergeant Harris will present the charge.
What is an NCO? You are a special breed of soldier, the most vital link between the commander and the soldiers. The person who sees the job get done. You must react in two ways, to the commander and to the soldiers. Under your supervision, because in reality, you work for both. Your insignificance of authority by itself does not mean that you will be a good leader, manager. You must first practice and exemplify the qualities that earn you this position. As a leader, manager, you must possess these fundamental qualities: set awareness and self-improvement, an ability to make sound and timely decisions, interest in the welfare of subordinates, fairness when dealing with subordinates. Most of all, be versatile, be considerate, be honest, be consistent, and be serious when dealing with the commander and personnel you supervise, because your action and reaction will be mirrored by yourself and your subordinates. Therefore, set high standards for yourself, standards that are expected of you by the commander, and standards that you and he expect your subordinates to follow. Such standards may be personal appearance, military bearing, and knowledge of the job, dependability.
Duties and responsibilities. You are expected to be able to do just about anything and everything. Your duties and responsibilities as a non-commissioned officer require a variety of skills. Though you may be a specialist in areas such as administrative, personnel, communications, transportation, your primary responsibility is managing the individual soldier within the framework of the unit's mission. You probably have the greatest face-to-face personnel responsibility in the Army, and the buck must stop here, at your level. You are the one who personally sees that the orders are carried out. This calls for close supervision and attention to detail, because the results of your job not only reflect your ability, but also the ability of your commanding officer. In certain respects, you will function as a public relations personnel for the Army. The way you manage, the examples you set, the attitude you have towards the Army are influencing factors in a first affirmer's decision to re-enlist.
Professionalism and the NCO. Always regard yourself as a professional. However, this does not mean
The orders, directions, and rules governing the discipline of the Army, and correct conditions, detrimental to the readiness thereof. In doing so, I fulfill my greatest obligation as a leader. Now, you've spoken the words. Do each of you take the tenets of this oath willfully?
I do.
Lower your hand. Effective today, your status is confirmed to non-commissioned officer of the United States Army.
Ladies and gentlemen, we present our newest inductees into the non-commissioned officers corps. Sergeant Major Peterson will now present the signed and sealed non-commissioned officers creed. Sergeant Cantu, Christina. Sergeant Barrientos, Antonio. Sergeant Manning, David. Sergeant Smith, Eric. Sergeant Strickland, Patrick. Sergeant Chavez, Jose. Sergeant Blaylock, Demetrius. Sergeant Traver, Trent. Sergeant Brooks, Melissa. Sergeant Rodriguez, Lewis. Sergeant Mariano, Gregory. Sergeant Spina, Salvatore. Sergeant Castillo, Thomas. Sergeant Enriquez, Sergeant Dyer. Sergeant Carrington, Jacqueline. Sergeant Carbonell, Emmanuel. Sergeant Collier, Brian. Sergeant Robb, Catherine. And Sergeant Rankin, John. Please rise for the playing of the ADA March. NCO DP will start in 15 minutes. This concludes the ceremony. Thank you so much for attending.